The Kansas City Chiefs are coming off a dominant win under the lights on Sunday night over the Detroit Lions. I am now joined by NFL beat reporter and Chiefs reporter for ESPN, Nate Taylor. And Nate, first off, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And how about this, right? 3-3 after 6 games.
3-3 after last week. Looked a little disappointing, had a lead, but the big thing was 13 penalties. But coming into tonight, 0 accepted penalties. What do you think was a big difference in kind of seeing them play that disciplined ball that they were looking for?
Yeah, I'm so glad you said the word discipline. This is the first time through a whole 60-minute stretch where I can say the offense, the defense, special teams, everybody was focused, everybody concentrated, and they were very disciplined to lead to no penalties. And look, this is now an actual recipe. Like, if they play like this, they can pretty much beat just about any team in the league. And so doing it against a good competition in the Lions, getting off the loss in Jacksonville, which was, again, a wild finish, it shows you the potential that this team has.
Yeah, and you mentioned that potential and this team coming off of that loss, but a big thing going into this week was fourth down.
Yes.
Knowing how aggressive the Lions are on fourth down, but also the Chiefs' success, 9 of 10 going into this week on fourth down conversions, and they won that battle. What does that say about the Chiefs' ability to not only convert, but also their ability defensively to make those big plays?
Yeah, on the offensive side, what's fascinating is, we know we're never going to see Mahomes do a quarterback sneak. So you take that out of the playbook, and it actually allows him to pass the ball more often. That's what we saw on the first drive, him passing the ball to Xavier Worthy for the opening touchdown. And on defense, because of the aggressiveness that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have shown this season, now you get the sense that the defense understands, okay, we're actually ready for fourth down. I think that's one of the quick things that we're learning about this team is that the defense is actually ready for fourth down. They get the stop, in the middle of the second quarter. That leads to the Chiefs getting another score. They double up in the second half to get another touchdown. That's where that 10-point lead, that cushion comes from, is because you're aggressive on fourth down, you execute, and you actually stop the other team because you're more prepared based on going against that offense week in, week out in practice.
Yeah, and you mentioned the double dip a little bit. You had the big points before halftime to get that lead, then coming out and scoring, getting that 10-point lead, like you mentioned. How big of a momentum shift is that? It's seeing them finally be able to do that, because last week it was a quick 3-and-out to start the second half.
Yes, they had the exact same scenario last week, right? So not only was it just the penalties, but they didn't score going into the half, and they went 3-and-out coming out. So, again, another sign of, hey, better focus, better discipline, better concentration. And when you get a 10-point lead, now it just allows Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, and really Steve Spagnuolo to go after the quarterback. And we never really saw Jared Goff, outside of one drive in the second half, really seem comfortable. So we now see this, right? We've got 6 games. I know Rashee Rice is coming back next week, but if the offense can get you a lead, hey, that's going to lead to more turnovers. That's going to lead to more sacks. I know Charles Omenihu got one late in the game as well. So if you have a 10-point lead, it really plays into your defense's hands because they can go after the quarterback.
Yeah, and you mentioned Xavier Worthy had his first score of the year, but Hollywood Brown, he had 2 touchdowns. I mean, you're seeing the weapons that this team has, and Mahomes mentioned the protection of the offensive line, of course, but seeing the weapons that the Chiefs have and how they've been able to get into a rhythm offensively. What can you say about what you've seen from them so far, but also adding Rashee Rice coming back next week?
It's only going to get better. And think about this, we didn't even hear from Tyquan Thornton tonight. That's how many weapons they have. You can trust Travis Kelce on third down. I think that's key because it allows guys like Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown to really work in the red zone, right? You use Kelce to move down the field, and now you're going to have Rashee Rice coming in to the fold, and it's like, where does the defense find the what I like to say is, who is the identicator, right? When you line up, who do I think the ball's going to go to the most? Honestly, I don't know now, especially if you're someone like the Las Vegas Raiders who has to watch tape of this, knowing that, okay, Hollywood Brown had 2 touchdowns. Xavier Worthy's come back and played really well since coming back from the injury. You have Tyquan Thornton, who could beat you over the top, but wasn't even necessary against the Lions, and you just add Rashee Rice into this, who arguably is their best receiver. I know that might sound strange because we have not seen him yet. We haven't seen him in over a year, but his talent, based on what I've heard from the guys in the locker room, he can be dynamic, and he can just add to this offense where you feel comfortable going forward on fourth down because you have so many options to throw the ball to. And when you can trust Mahomes with a number of good players, it usually leads to you having one of the best offenses in the NFL.
And we're talking about Mahomes in the offense. He becomes the fastest quarterback to 300 career passing touchdowns, surpassing Aaron Rodgers by 8 games. Just what can you say about Mahomes as somebody who's covered him throughout his whole career? And he just continues to set that new standard and just abolish records.
He's remarkable because not only is he a top competitor, but think about how consistent and durable you have to be to break this record with, like you said, 8 games before you even come close to the previous record holder. It's helpful to have Travis Kelce, right? Every important game he's ever played with, he's played with Travis Kelce. And now because the front office has added young, dynamic weapons around him, I mean, he could shatter every record moving forward as long as he stays healthy, as long as he stays, diligent in his work ethic. I mean, the guy is truly astounding, right? There are throws that we see him make every game where I'm just like, that's silly. Like, Jared Goff, Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, he can't make that throw. There's so many moments where you just look and you go, oh, that's why he's the most talented quarterback in the league. And the stats are now really trying to, reflect it. It's actually starting to show up statistically where for an 8-game, 8-season stretch, however you want to call it, like he's truly remarkable. So what he does next will be obviously very fascinating, but at the same time, I do love the idea that, like, hey, we thought he was good the first couple of years. Well, he's only getting better, and he's 30, and he has no major injuries, and that might be terrifying for the rest of the league because the more he breaks records, the better it is for the Chiefs offense.
Couple more questions for you. A big thing going into tonight was Chiefs learned early today they lost Josh Simmons, who's been their standout left tackle, kind of solving a big problem for this team. But they signed Jalen Moore in the offseason, and going into this season before the draft and getting Simmons, they signed him to be that left tackle. What'd you see from him tonight, and just a strong performance overall from this offensive line?
Well, this is why you double up on a position that's so important, right? Because you have the most talented quarterback in the league, you need Jalen Moore to be that spot starter in case of something that goes on like this, right? We don't know all the details with Josh Simmons and his family situation, but because of that, he can't play. He's back in California. You signed Jalen Moore because you thought he was going to be your starting left tackle, and so he kind of proved it today. Like, Aiden Hutchinson, as great of a pass rusher as he is, really wasn't that much effective, right? He was not as much of a harassing force as like Chris Jones on the other side of the field. So you love that for the Chiefs because, hey, if there's an injury that happens with Jawan Taylor moving forward, or if something were to happen, we don't want that to happen, but if something happens with Josh Simmons, whether it's rookie, whether it's injury related, whatever it be, you do have Jalen Moore, who's a veteran who learned under Trip Williams those 4 years in San Francisco and played really well, considering that he woke up today and he did not know he was going to be the starter. Like, in some ways, that's a good thing for a veteran because it's like, okay, well, I know what to do, but at the same time, it's not like he got all the practice reps with the rest of the first-team offense.
And you kind of mentioned that kind of relaxed mode of, hey, I don't have this stress of going in. He kind of went in and just kind of let his instincts take over. My last question for you, defensively. Chiefs had another tough task with Steve Spagnuolo's unit going against the leading scoring offense in football, holding them to 17 points, especially after a drive to open the game, 15 plays, 10 minutes. Just what do you see from that defense? What is so promising about the defense's performance tonight, limiting such a dangerous offense like Detroit's?
Yeah, they still have issues pass rushing with just 4 guys, but outside of that, they tackle the ball carriers so well. They're so good at tackling. You know Spags is going to come with the blitz. That's probably going to work. Maybe it's on 3rd down, maybe it's on 4th down. I think the Chiefs now realize, hey, Trent McDuffie is best in the slot. You have Noah Williams, a rookie who's playing very, very well. They are starting to get turnovers. I know they didn't get one today, but that 4th down stop is essentially a turnover, right? Because it forces the Lions to not be as aggressive as they want. They have to kick a field goal. Then they go for it on another 4th down. You stop them in the middle of the field, and you are rewarded by the offense with getting, obviously, points on the score. So I know they're not the most talented group. I know they're not the most sexy group. I mean, the offense is what's going to put a lot of highlights on the film, but the defense is being supportive. They actually are a unit that when you give them the opportunity to make a play, they've normally done it. That's why I think the loss to Jacksonville was so bizarre, because we've gotten used to seeing them make those game-winning stops. So if they can get a little bit better as the offense continues to grow, as Rashee Rice obviously comes into the mix, now all of a sudden you do have a championship caliber team. I know the record says 3-3, but I think the Chiefs have to feel good about themselves, knowing that the defense can play well when another offense comes in averaging 35 points, and at the same time the offense just gets better and better with each passing week.
Nate, thank you so much for taking the time with me, answering some questions, and giving us that extra insight, because you're somebody who's around the team, has great insight, so I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much. This was a blast. I appreciate it.
That's it for me, reporting live from Arrowhead. Chiefs get a statement win, looking to bounce back. Once again, get above 500 with a win against the Raiders next week. Reporting live, I'm Ryan Blank for KOAM Sports.